lovely friends, it's Margaret, and it's time for another Fresh Reads Friday. For those of you that are new to my channel, Fresh Reads Friday is the occasional Friday series where I talk about books that I have read recently and I think you might enjoy as well. Today we are going to be talking about Song of Blood and Stone by Penelope. So this is a young adult fantasy. It is about Jasminda and Jack. Jasminda is a Lagrim immigrant. Her father immigrated after the last war, or the last time the mantle fell, because in this world there's this mantle that separates Lagrimar from Elsira. Her father immigrated in when the mantle fell during one of the last conflicts between Elsira. They always clash when this thing falls and people are able to cross the mantle. And so her father is Lagrimari, her mother was Elsiran. They kind of live in this out of the way place, and she has a home that she is trying to save, and she ends up getting involved with this man named Jack. Jack is a spy. He has been over in Lagrimar collecting information that is going to be very important to the Elsiran government. He has found out that Lagrimar is trying to take the mantle down, and they may have found a way to do that. So he's trying to get back. However, he has been followed by some Elsiran soldiers, and Jasminda, he ends up running into Jasminda. She kind of has to help him, and then he ends up kind of being like, hey, come help me, and I can find a way to help you in your situation. And so they kind of have this mutual, like, we need each other kind of thing. I really enjoyed this. I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. I had so much fun reading it. Part of it is because romance is a huge part of the plot. So I will say I'm going to have content warnings down in the description box because there are a couple of things that definitely could be triggering for people. So if you need those, they will be down in the description box. I know not everyone likes to have those. They feel like they're spoilers, but I do feel like they are important to provide. Before I get into what I liked and didn't like about this book, I do want to mention that the 3rd book in the Earthsinger Chronicles, which is the series, is coming out soon. That's part of why I'm posting this now. I got that book as an arc, didn't realize it was a 3rd book, so I'm going back and rereading the first 2. Let's talk about the characters first. I really enjoyed Jasminda and Jack as main characters. I thought they were very dynamic in their motivations and why they were doing what they were doing. It was all like, there are so many political aspects to this book that why they were doing what they were doing could be kind of like convoluted and complex, and it felt very human to me. I sat down and was like, I can see actual people having these motivations and having these reasons and like actually thinking through things the way that they thought through them. I was rooting for both of them. I love the way that they kind of came to have a common goal despite the fact that they're both being motivated by different things and they both have very different goals at the beginning. I liked the way they were able to work together and what came out of that. I also like the fact that they didn't always make choices that I agreed with. There's some choices that Jack makes towards the end that I'm like, I understand, like, A for effort, but could we not have accomplished this maybe a different way, sir? Maybe. It's just, yeah. But you know what? Not my judgment call. There's such a variety of characters that you see, from the beautiful, pure, and innocent to like the just truly, truly awful. You really are getting in the head of one character who's trying to do the right thing, and in trying to do the right thing, they cause a whole bunch of trouble and actually end up creating kind of a conflict that is going to impact people for a long time. Speaking of conflict, that seems like the perfect way to segue into the plot. The plot by far was my favorite part about the book. Not just because there was romance and there was a focus on the romance, but I think that this is one of those, it's weird for me as a character-driven reader to be like, the plot was my favorite part about this book, but I do feel like the plot, like the characters were good, but the plot was like really good. It had so many layers to it, just like the characters did, but like there were so many political themes. I loved the way that this woman, that the author took issues that we face in our everyday, like just as in our world, and she managed to put them in this fantasy world and make them mean something to this fantasy world. And I really liked how she wove that in there. I liked how it wasn't just like a fantasy world that was completely divorced from our own world. It was a world where you can go, I can see a parallel to that in the world we live in. And I like when fantasy novels still tackle social issues. I really appreciate that. Especially when it's well done, and I felt like this was really well done. Some people might feel like it's a little bit annoying that they're so allegorical, like some of these conflicts, but yeah, I don't care. I just appreciated how she worked them in there and the fact that they're there in the first place, because I think a lot of the time we sit there and we want to say fantasy, it shouldn't have anything with the real world in, and we don't think about the fact that the fantasy we read and the fantasy we write is influenced by the real world. It's influenced by our experiences and what we know. And so, like, you cannot write a book that is not influenced by the world we live in, and she really embraced that. I liked how she balanced the romance. Like, it wasn't a huge romance plot, but it was there, and it had enough, it was enough like plot forward that I was happy, but it also, I feel like, didn't completely take away from the main plot. I know sometimes that can happen in fantasy romances. I really liked it. I just, it was corny in places, but like in the way that people are corny when they're in love and stupid. The ending was by far one of the corniest parts, and yet I'm like, yeah, I can see this happening exactly like this in the real world. And I loved it, even if it did make me cringe a little bit and maybe die of secondhand embarrassment. I really liked the way that the two narratives ended up coming together between Jacinda and Jack, and then, oh, there's some other stuff that I really want to, I would love to dive into, but I'm not going to because this is a spoilers-free review. But there is another narrative that comes in, and the way that is used to weave all of the pieces together and kind of give you an, like, by the time you feel like, by the time I figured it out, I was like, oh, this is what's happening. This is brilliant. I also loved the way that it set up the conflicts for the next couple of books, because like I'm pretty sure we've met the main characters for the book 2 and book 3, and I'm ready for it. I'm like so excited to get to these books. Like, it really had me pumped and revved and ready to go to see how this conflict is going to play out for the rest of the series, and how it's going to resolve, and how it's going to impact these other characters' lives, because each next book follows another person. Finally, let's get into the world building. Oh, guys, I was freaking out about this on Twitter because it starts out feeling very Western-y. Like it felt, just the setting and where Desmond lives and her life, it felt like a Western. Like, she's got a shotgun, guys. She owns a shotgun, and there are horses. It kind of morphs into a steampunk World War I type world. And let me tell you, if there is one thing I love, it's steampunk. I don't read enough steampunk considering how much I love it, but y'all, I was just so into this world building, and I love the way that, like, it's partly technology and partly magic to some extent, and it was so good. I also really liked the magic system. It's based on this thing called Earth Singing, hence the Earth Singer Chronicles, and I just thought it was such an interesting way to kind of work magic. I also liked the fact that there was like kind of a checks and balances system where, you know, you saw her, just because Jasminda has magic, you saw her getting fatigued, and there was a certain point where she couldn't do magic anymore. I really, really appreciated that there like wasn't just like magic, 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 magic all over the place. Like, I enjoy those books too, but you know, sometimes when you put limits on things, it makes things interesting. And finally, like I mentioned it before, but I really liked the political system that they built up. It was kind of like, it was part democracy and part monarchy, and I liked how the two were worked together. Really made me think of some of my like studies of English history and stuff. So I just thought that she did such a good job crafting this world, and it is a world that I want to stay in. I want to continue to be in. So obviously I will be picking up the next book very soon. And it sounds like I'm gonna like that one even more. That is my review of Song of Blood and Stone by Penelope. Let me know down in the comments whether or not you have read this book. Are you interested in it? I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, I'll have other videos over here that you might enjoy as well. That is it for now, my friends. Happy reading, and I will see you later when we will talk about more wordy, nerdy things. Bye!